That is the fundamental Jeffersonian legacy. It is the fundamental truth about our country that emanates from our founding. And that is the defense of Jefferson, to the extent you're going to mount one that matters. Every one of us is flawed. Each and every one of the people in this room, each and every one of us who walk this planet is flawed. And each and every one of us have done pretty bad things. I teach my kids not to cuss. Unfortunately, I cuss. I tell my kids to avoid debauchery. But how shall I put it? I had more than a few spirited nights here at the university a few decades ago. And who among us is not filled with some of those stories? Jefferson should never have owned a fellow human being. No one should. But so, Abraham Lincoln perhaps shouldn't have suspended habeas corpus. Perhaps shouldn't have said that we promote deportation of former slaves. Woodrow Wilson, perhaps when he had a stroke, shouldn't have run a shadow presidency in his last couple of years and then resegregated the U.S. Postal Service, bringing Jim Crow to the nation's capital. FDR, there's questions about internment camps for Japanese Americans at the time. JFK, notorious philandering, use of painkillers in the office. LBJ, notorious affairs. I live in Austin, Texas, where the stories are replete of his notorious racist rhetoric, well documented, even while passing the Voting Rights Act and Civil Rights Act in 64 and 65. MLK, accusations of plagiarism. Ted Kennedy, Chappaquiddick. George W. Bush, a DUI and partying in his youth. Donald Trump, Joe Biden. I'll leave all those to the current headlines. None of us are perfect. None of us. But the simple truth is, in this country, in significant part due to Mr. Jefferson's words, his work, and his many deeds, we put our faith in the people, in principles, not in princes. That is the fundamental Jeffersonian legacy. It is the fundamental truth about our country that emanates from our founding. And that is the defense of Jefferson, to the extent you're going to mount one that matters. That is why we venerate him, to remember the principles that he articulated, better and more timely than most who have walked on this earth, and to remember what the founders risked to ensure that we live under those principles, and to remember why we fight for those principles today. For those reasons, I will defend the Jefferson Memorial, defend the statues of Jefferson on these hallowed UVA grounds, defend Monticello, defend the greatness of the principles, words, and efforts of not just Jefferson, but Henry, Adams, Lee, Washington, Franklin, Mason, all of the great leaders of the time. They all stood up and risked everything so that we can even be having the conversation that we're having right here on these grounds.